A working-class cleaner from Britain, Harris's eyes fell on a high-class custom dress kept in her employer's house. The luxurious garment shimmered with a soft and alluring glow, like stars twinkling in the night sky. But when the employer told her the dress cost £500, disbelief filled Harris's eyes. For a cleaner who barely got by doing floor cleaning and small tasks all day, £500 was a dream that might never come true. But Harris decided not to give up. She planted a dream in her heart. One day, she would buy that dress. After that, Harris started saving money. While others took the bus to work, Harris walked on foot, even in the rain and storms. While others spent their days relaxing in comfortable homes, Harris would turn off the lights and save a few coins. She ran around, grabbing cleaning jobs one after another, and in her free time, sewed people's clothes. Slowly, she began to accumulate pennies to make that far-off dream a reality. Luck often favors those who work hard. One night, like any other, Harris marked a few numbers on a lottery ticket and went to bed with a tiny hope. The next morning, luck woke up. Harris won a £150 prize. She jumped up in joy. When her best friend, little Winnie, found out, she was also very happy. But life is never easy. Due to an economic downturn, her employer not only reduced her working hours, but also stopped her salary. Harris became deeply discouraged. She didn't know how many more hardships she would have to go through to make her dream come true. When Winnie noticed that Harris had been looking sad every day, she decided to cheer her up by taking her to the dog racing track. There, Harris saw a dog number 6, named High Fashion. The name seemed to touch her heart. She felt like it was a sign, a call from fate. Without thinking, Harris took £100 from her pocket and placed a bet on number 6. Archie, who was selling tickets, tried to explain to her that the dog wouldn't win, but when the owner was nearby, he said nothing and took her money. The race began. The dog number 6 showed early speed, and Harris shouted in joy. She felt that her dream was finally about to come true. But as soon as the dog reached near the finish line, it suddenly stopped. All hope shattered. Harris looked at the field with empty eyes. Her £100 had vanished in an instant. She was broken inside. Archie had already sensed this outcome, but he still comforted Harris and said, "It's not wrong to dream, but sometimes you have to accept reality too." When Harris started to feel that she might never get that dress, fate took another turn. One day, while returning home, her eyes caught something sparkling in a puddle of water. She bent down to look. It was a precious diamond ring. It was like a treasure to her. If she sold it, she could have enough money to buy the dress. But Harris didn't waste a second. She took the ring and went straight to the police station to hand it over. She knew that the ring wasn't hers. Losing her principles for a moment of greed was unacceptable to her. Her honesty and kindness were rewarded. A few days later, she received her late husband's long overdue pension and benefits from the military. At the same time, an officer from the police station came to inform her that the real owner of the ring had been found, and, pleased with Harris's honest behavior, had given her a generous reward as a token of appreciation. On that very day, Archie from the dog race track also came and said, "Sorry, Harris, I couldn't save your £100, but I added a little extra from the £10 I had hidden and won you more than £100. This unexpected money finally helped Harris gather the £500 she needed to buy the dress. She felt that her hard work, honesty, and dedication had finally been rewarded. She immediately decided she would go from London to Paris and fulfill her dream. Harris booked her flight to Paris. It was her first time flying, and her heart was filled with both nervousness and excitement. Looking out the window at the dazzling lights of Paris, she imagined herself wearing the Dior dress, and a soft, pleasant smile spread across her face. After arriving in Paris, to save money, Harris spent the night on a bench at the train station. The next morning, with the help of a kind passerby, she made her way to the Dior headquarters. As she was about to go inside, a model suddenly fell on the red carpet. Harris immediately ran and helped her up. The model's name was Natasha. She quickly hurried inside, but left her bag behind. Harris quickly climbed the stairs to return the bag. She had no idea that this small act of kindness would play a significant role in her entire Paris trip. After that, Harris reached the reception room. The well-dressed female manager looked at her simple outfit with a glance full of contempt. She silently asked Harris to sit in a corner, and then got busy welcoming the wealthy guests, eagerly handing them passes. Harris became restless seeing this. She was the first to arrive, so why wasn't she allowed inside? But the manager completely ignored her and continued welcoming Lady Avalon's daughter with full attention. The manager found Harris's presence there very humiliating. She felt it would affect the prestige of the show. She told the female supervisor to take Harris to a department store and show her a dress that matched her level, but Harris firmly refused to leave. She said resolutely, "I have worked day and night. I've only come to see my favorite dress, nothing else." When the accountant saw the money in Harris's hand, he was ready to let her in. But then the manager intervened again. She sharply said, "Today is Dior's 10th anniversary." Backstage, there was a commotion. Everyone started whispering to each other. A cleaner who has saved all her money to buy a dress has been brought inside by a marquis himself. Several models quietly peeked at Harris from behind the curtains. The marquis told Harris, "If you like any dress, just write down its number in the register next to it. After the show, you'll be able to buy it." At that moment, Harris noticed a rose in the marquis's coat pocket. She bent down and inhaled the fragrance of the rose. This is where their conversation about roses began. Through their talk, it was revealed that both of their spouses were no longer alive. The atmosphere was slowly becoming sweeter and more intimate, but then this pleasant moment was shattered because of Lady Avalon. The truth was, Harris's seat was right next to Lady Avalon's. This did not sit well with her at all. The manager immediately suggested she switch her seat, but since Lady Avalon always sat in that seat, she had to stay there. She huffed and covered her nose and mouth with her handkerchief, showing her disdain for Harris. The show began. Models came out one by one, wearing stunning dresses. The colorful outfits captivated everyone in the audience. Harris, too, was completely immersed in the spectacle. Suddenly, she saw a very beautiful light green dress and quickly wrote its number, 73, in the register. But as the show neared its end, a red dress came onto the stage and Harris was completely mesmerized by it. The color of the dress was like burning fire, and that fire ignited something in Harris's heart. She changed her mind and decided that the red dress would be hers. She immediately went to the female supervisor with the number of the dress, but she was deeply shocked to learn that Lady Avalon had already bought it. Lady Avalon had strongly believed that a cleaner like Harris could never wear that red dress. In her view, people like that were not worthy of a prestigious brand like Dior. Since each dress was a unique design and only one piece of it was made in the world, Harris had to choose another option. She chose the green dress she had liked earlier, the one with the number 73. But another problem arose. Every high-end custom Dior dress was made with a personalized fit. Harris was told she would have to stay in Paris for almost 2 weeks for fittings, so the dress could fit perfectly. However, all of Harris's savings had already been spent on the dress. Now she had no means to stay in Paris for 2 weeks. Seizing this opportunity, the female manager sneered, "You shouldn't have taken this dress." At that moment, the model Natasha, whom Harris had helped earlier, intervened. She said she could talk to the designer and get the trial time reduced. Then, the finance officer, Carroll, proposed that Harris could stay at his house for a few days. Just as the female manager was about to say something, the supervisor standing nearby smiled and invited Harris inside. When the staff heard Harris's story of struggle, they all welcomed her with applause. The interviewer jokingly said, "Your body looks just like a model's." Harris laughed and made a light-hearted joke about herself in English, causing the entire staff to burst into laughter. After the first fitting, Natasha was already waiting outside with the car. Harris was surprised to see this. Despite the recent acquaintance, Natasha's warmth towards her was clearly evident. On the way, Natasha deliberately took her through the most beautiful parts of Paris, so Harris could feel the beauty of the city. After that, both of them arrived at Farrell's house. Upon seeing the condition of the house, Harris couldn't stop herself. She immediately started cleaning. When Farrell returned with some items and saw the house completely transformed, he was stunned. He apologized to Natasha for the state of his home. Meanwhile, a shopping bag fell down. Both of them bent down to pick up the items and accidentally bumped their foreheads. They smiled at each other and shyly apologized. At dinner, Harris realized that Farrell liked Natasha. He cleverly steered the conversation toward the author that Natasha liked. Coincidentally, Farrell was also a fan of that same author. The conversation about the author sparked a slight attraction in Natasha's heart for Farrell. By nightfall, nightfall, Harris was gazing at the twinkling Paris sky. She still couldn't believe that she was really standing on the land of her dreams. During these days, she regularly went to the high custom workshop. Amid the clicking of sewing machines and the rustling of silk fabrics, she learned that the Dior house was in serious trouble. Wealthy customers often rejected dresses for various reasons and didn't make payments, making it difficult for the company to even pay its employees. Harris was deeply concerned when she learned this. Around the same time, she met the Marquis again. When he learned that Harris would be staying in Paris for another week, he invited her to the flower market. As they walked, he praised Harris for the courage she had shown, spending all her savings on one dress. Harris smiled and said, "Even my closest friend calls it foolishness." In response, the Marquis said deeply, "I can understand what you mean. When I see such beautiful dresses, it reminds me of my past golden days." To forget his old bitterness, the Marquis invited Harris to a dance party. This party was for the wealthy class, where caviar and champagne were being served. In the glow of music and dance, Harris got lost, and the next morning when she woke up, it was 10:30 on the clock. She rushed to the Dior workshop, but the tailor clearly refused, saying, "I won't work now because you didn't respect the time." Harris begged the supervisor for help, but the female manager had already wanted Harris to leave. Only the female supervisor showed pity, but even she was clearly unable to do anything. Harris admitted her mistake in front of everyone. She said, "I made a mistake. I am ashamed of my actions. I respect all of you, and this has become the biggest mistake of my entire life." Seeing her humility and remorse, the female supervisor quietly moved forward. Using her authority, she took Harris to the part of the workshop where the most beautiful clothes were kept. In the light, those clothes were shining. Each dress looked like a masterpiece. Among them, in a corner, Harris once again saw that red dress that had touched her heart on the first day. And at that moment, Harris finally understood what high custom dresses truly meant. It was like pouring water on snow. The female manager told Harris to consider another design. After all, she had come all the way, so she couldn't leave empty-handed. Harris took a step back and chose the green dress, number 73, which she had liked initially. Her honesty and true appreciation won everyone's heart, and when her skilled sewing abilities were showcased, the staff members began to respect her even more. Together, they proposed that her measurements be taken again. But the female manager was still angry. She dragged Harris into the office and angrily asked, "What exactly do you want? In my entire career, I've never seen a female employee sew her own dress for something so expensive." She taunted, saying, "This dress is what rich women wear to shine at parties. And what will you do? Wear it to clean the streets." Harris hesitated slightly and said, "It's my dream." At that moment, Natasha arrived and handed Harris the roses sent by the Marquis. That evening, Harris and Farrell were walking together. When the conversation turned to the financial difficulties at Dior House, Farrell, as the finance head, wasn't very optimistic, but Harris was completely confident. She inspired Farrell to try and change the situation. Farrell lightly said, "I do have some ideas, but no one cares about what I say." Harris smiled and replied, "To get anyone to care, you first have to believe in yourself. Trying is important." Farrell laughed and said, "Maybe you're the only one who believes in me." In the course of their conversation, they accidentally ended up at a movie premiere. There, they saw Natasha was quite close to the movie's hero. Harris spoke casually, but Farrell felt a little uncomfortable. Natasha was happy to see them, but after talking for a while, she went off to pose romantically with the hero. It was all part of the movie promotion. Harris quietly said, "It's all just professional." Farrell said, "Don't try to make unnecessary connections. This could end up being humiliating for you." He continued, "I like Natasha, but I know she's like a star, beautiful, but distant and out of my reach." Harris calmly said, "How will you know without trying?" Farrell became serious. "Paris is certainly a beautiful place for dreams like yours, but don't impose those dreams on others. Maybe the one who truly needs love is you yourself." Farrell's words touched Harris's heart. She remembered her late husband, Eddie. It was his pension that gave her the chance to come to Paris. Was this some kind of sign from him? Had he sent her here to find love again in her life? The next day, Harris arrived on time at the Marquis's residence. The Marquis showed Harris his old pictures and told her that when he was in boarding school, the other children used to tease him a lot. In those days, a cleaning lady, whom he called Mop Madam, took care of him. She looked after him and boosted his morale. The Marquis smiled and said, "When I look at you, I'm reminded of that Mop Madam." Harris understood. It wasn't love, but the warmth and gratitude gratitude of the past. She left politely. On the way back, she felt a strange emptiness inside. Now she understood. Even though she had become a part of a high-fashion gown, she was still, deep inside, as lonely as a dress hanging on a hanger. The Cinderella fairy tale was never truly real. Glass slippers never belonged to the girl who cleaned the floor. The next day, when Harris arrived at Dior House, she saw dozens of employees packing their things and leaving. The entire atmosphere was chaotic. It was clear that this centuries-old establishment had fallen into a serious financial crisis. Harris immediately stopped everyone and encouraged them to unite and demand answers. The female manager said she had no authority. At that moment, Harris decided she would speak directly to the owner of Dior. On the way, more employees joined her. When they all reached the main office, Farrell tried to stop them, but Harris firmly said, "This is the moment to prove ourselves." She pushed Farrell towards the CEO's office and said, "Now you have to speak." Harris pleaded with Dior, "Sir, just give him 10 minutes. Maybe this young man can save Dior." After a little hesitation, Farrell stepped forward. Full of confidence, he proposed a revolutionary idea. Dior should step out of its traditional luxury image and launch an affordable yet stylish light luxury line, so that ordinary women could also become a part of the brand. Dior Sir listened carefully to his words and fell into thought. After a while, Farrell came out and told everyone that Dior had approved his proposal. Now, the Dior brand would move forward with a new vision and direction, and the first face of this new beginning would be Harris. Not only had the layoffs been avoided, but now more people would be hired. The female manager realized that there was no longer a place for her in the company, and she quietly resigned. Natasha also resigned alongside her. That evening, Harris and Farrell went to the female manager's house. They urged her to return. Because men can never fully understand what female consumers want. Without your experience and perspective, things will be unbalanced. The female manager found this proposal sincere and respectful, and she agreed to return. When Natasha was mentioned, it was revealed that she was leaving Paris to chase her dreams. Hearing this, Harris and Farrell rushed to the train station, and finally, in the waiting room, Natasha met them. Farrell tried to explain to Harris using knowledge from books and philosophy, but Harris was irritated by the steel-straight guy. Filled with anger and emotion, she asked him to kiss her to silence him, and they did just that. The next day, Harris stepped into Dior House for the last time. The dress she had worked so hard on and crafted with all her heart was finally complete, and it was breathtaking, truly unique. Her journey to Paris ended with an emotional and fulfilling twist. Harris returned to her old home with her suitcase. That evening, unexpectedly, her mistress showed up without any notice. She was crying and telling Harris about her difficult situation. In fact, she was supposed to attend an important, prestigious party, but none of her dresses were suitable to wear. Her only good dress was now old and worn out. Kind-hearted Harris, with a heavy heart, lent her the high-class Dior dress, the one she had designed herself, the one that was the living embodiment of her dreams. Coincidentally, the dress fit the mistress perfectly. She thanked Harris repeatedly before heading out to the party. The next morning, when Harris went to clean at her mistress's house, she began cleaning after pulling the curtains back, and her eyes fell upon her own dress, which was carelessly thrown on the sofa. The dress was messy and burned in several places. The truth came to light. The mistress had shown no respect for Harris's dress. She had deliberately stood by the fireplace and burned it, so that all eyes would be on her and she could become the center of attention at the party. Harris's heart shattered. In anger, she twisted the compensation money the mistress had given her and threw it away, leaving the key in the door crack as she left the house. The Dior dress wasn't just a piece of clothing to her. It held countless dreams and struggles, and now, without even having the chance to wear it, it was destroyed. Broken-hearted, Harris went to the banks of the Thames River. Sitting there, she silently let all her emotions, hopes, and dreams connected to the dress flow into the river. After that, she didn't leave her room for several days. Harris's close friend, Archie, became concerned that she might take a wrong step, so he forcibly broke down the door and came inside. Then, all the friends together tried to console Harris, telling her that she needed to pull herself together again. After that incident, Harris never never looked back at her old dreams. When she saw her mistress Dante's new dress, she no longer had any interest in it. Madame Dante asked her, "Did you see today's newspaper? There's a picture of the woman who made headlines with that Dior dress." Harris's heart broke once again. In anger, she resigned from her job and demanded full payment of the remaining amount. One evening, while Harris was busy with gardening, someone knocked on the door. A delivery boy arrived with a bouquet of flowers and a small gift. When Harris unwrapped the paper, she saw it was from Dior House. Inside was a letter. "Dear Harris, we saw the news in the newspaper about your dress being burned. While the news has boosted the sales of our dress, we are deeply saddened for you. You are a kind-hearted person. After you left Paris, Lady Avalon's husband was arrested on charges of embezzlement and is now in prison. The payment for the red dress she had ordered remained unpaid. We have now had that dress remade and sent it to you according to your measurements. These roses are from Marquis. Please keep this dress away from fire this time. With all our love and thanks from the bottom of our hearts." At a dinner party for veterans organized by the government, amidst the lights and glitter, Harris entered the hall wearing that beautiful dress. All her friends were stunned. In an instant, everyone's eyes were fixed on her, and she became the center of attention. Archie smiled and said, "You've completely changed now. There's a different glow coming from you." Harris replied, "It's all because of this dress." Archie said, "No, it's not just the dress. A person's inner beauty enhances their aura, and the dress is just a means to make it shine brighter. True beauty is not limited by the passage of age or the highs and lows of a person's life. The only thing that can stop beauty from blooming is a heart that has lost its energy and no longer longs for anything beautiful." In her search for her dreams, Harris always held on to the truth of humanity. When she found the diamond ring, she returned it to its rightful owner without hesitation. Whenever the woman manager, who often criticized her, pleaded with her not to quit, Harris forgave her, forgetting their old grievances. When Harris realized that Marquis's feelings for her were only admiration and not true love, she bid him farewell without attachment or regret. Even when her employer intentionally destroyed her high-end dress, her goodness gave her something even more valuable in that moment of heartbreak. The shining red dress worn at the Veterans Ball teaches us that true elegance never depends on external things. It is born from the glow within us. No matter where we are, every ordinary person has the right to dream. No matter how much the world ridicules, every soul has the right to be gently cherished. When we, like Harris, protect our values with the goodness within us and courageously light up our future, we can hear the sound of our dreams blooming in the first ray of a quiet morning.